Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you in our discussion today with Mitch Martens. Mitch, so nice to have you.
Thank
So,
you.
in addition to Mitch being a dear friend and and absolutely one of my favorite people in the field, Mitch is also the senior manager for population health at Northern Arizona Healthcare in Flagstaff, Arizona. And that's a relatively new position for you, Mitch. Tell us a
You are
little
right.
bit about your path that got you here and how long you've been there. And just
Yeah,
tell us a little bit more about yourself. Welcome.
sure. So thank you for the introduction, Laura. I'll just say, you talk about me being one of your favorite people in the field. I thrive off of your energy. You bring such a bubbly isn't quite the right word. Effervescent. Do I like that word? You just bring such an effervescent to this field that it's like, how can people not smile? When they're around you. So thank you for inviting me. But yeah, so this is fairly new. I was at Cedars-Sinai, which is a medical center in Los Angeles for 19 years. And really my entire career has been around healthcare. But I'm also trained as a therapist, and to kind of simplify everything, I will tell you the last couple of years at Cedars-Sinai, I would do presentations around wellness, and we had over 25,000 people, at Cedars-Sinai. And in the last couple of years of me being there, I started getting an interesting question. Wait a minute. So you're responsible for everyone's wellness here, the doctors, the nurses, it's 25,000 people. Who looks after your wellness? And I didn't used to get that question. And I thought, wow. And of course, the therapist in me is always curious, like, why is this trend starting to happen? And I had to be honest with myself and say, wait a minute. Am I not necessarily practicing what I'm preaching all the time? And so, I made a big decision, which was, it had nothing to do with Cedars, but it was about the lifestyle of Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Nebraska, so maybe I just need a more simple lifestyle. But I was ready for a significant change. And so I took a leap of faith that made it about me as a person, not about a career move. And I'll tell you, I have fell in love with this place, Flagstaff. I'd never been to Flagstaff. Actually, when I flew here for an interview, oh my, I thought I got on the wrong plane because it's like you step off this plane and you're surrounded by mountains. So for those of you that don't know, there's mountains in Arizona. I thought everything was like cactuses, and so it was mind-boggling beautiful. I'm a big outdoors person, and I have learned so many new sports: pickleball, disc golf. I'm out mountain biking on a regular basis. So anyway, that's the short and long of kind of how I got where I'm at. The one lesson I would want to invite everyone: the next time we go through a major pandemic, don't decide to move somewhere during a pandemic where everyone's socially isolating and distancing, because it's been really hard making friends.
Oh, I bet it has. Well, nice to hear that you've had this renaissance, this personal renaissance, and that also you're continuing to have influence in the field. We've got lots of people coming in here. I just want to share that really quickly. And we've got Jesse Gavin shared that you are
What?
his favorite people. Also, Eric's coming in from Wisconsin. We've got somebody coming in from New Mexico, not too far from you. Jesse Stukenberg is asking, hi, Mitch. I spoke to you a long time ago when I worked for Berlin. Am I pronouncing that correctly? So cool to see you here today. Terry's coming in from Hawaii. Jill coming in from Texas. Julie coming in from Duluth, Minnesota. And it looks like we've got somebody Ohio to New Mexico. So welcome, everyone. Keep those coming in as to where you're coming from. We're so happy to have you. And I'm so happy to hear that we've got some other Mitch fans on the program as well. And we've got Tara coming in from Fargo, North Dakota. Tara, welcome. So great to have you. Okay, so Mitch, especially digging into your background as a therapist.
Mhm. Yes.
Our entire country is mourning after yet another horrific shooting. And I think all of us are just scratching our heads. How is this possible that this is happening again? This is to a large part preventable through sensible gun control measures, such as a background check. But more immediately, there is the pain that these parents and these families are going through right now. This community is going through, and any parent and frankly any American is feeling right now. Steve Kerr, I think, really the coach of the Golden State Warriors, I think it really captured a lot of what people are feeling right now. This anger as well as this incredible sadness. So I'd love your thoughts around how we kind of process this as a nation and also as individuals and as families.
Yeah, you ask. It's a beautiful question, and I think unfortunately or fortunately, we've all got to walk a unique path. There isn't going to be, it's kind of like grieving, right? I mean, in a way, we all grieve in different ways. So, when I lose my mother versus when you lose your mother, we all have a different process. And so this this is a loss. This is a loss for everyone, whether it's I've lost my child because of this situation, I've lost a friend, I've lost the security of, I'm going to say, a comfortable denial. And what I mean
Mm.
by comfortable denial is we all have a level of denial. We don't walk around every day saying, oh my God, when am I going to die? When am I going to die? We kind of all have this fantasy, at least for me, I have this fantasy of I'm going to live to at least 100. That's what my mom is always saying to me. It's like, Mitch, I got another good 20 years in me. So, but at 100, I'm done. So my point is we all have this denial level of it's how we get through the world. We think it's going to be okay. And that has now been shattered temporarily. I can't feel comfortable sending my kid to school now. I can't feel comfortable knowing that there might be someone who's angry and so angry that they're going to take it out on innocent people when they're at work, when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm at a concert, whatever it is. I mean, sadly, we have seen these kind of situations repeat itself, in our country and even around the world. And so my response is allow yourself to grieve, own and honor, not just own, but honor those feelings and understand we're all going to go through this. Some of us are going to quickly jump right back into life. Other of us are going to maybe need to retreat a little bit and maybe build up the walls a little bit more. So that's at least my gut reaction to your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So we've got a lot of people, other people coming in. I'm so happy to see that we've got so many people in our conversation today. We've got Heather coming in from New Mexico, Lisa coming in from Sedona,
Yeah.
somebody coming in from Woodbury, Minnesota, Anne from Milwaukee. We've got Linda coming in from New York. So again, thank you all so much. And I want to encourage everybody who is part of this conversation to post any questions that you might have, so that you can be part of this conversation as well. So, I think we all have these moments, and I think one thing that an incident like yesterday brings to mind is really about what matters most in life, and certainly the pandemic provided that as well. It's been this great reset. So we might say that all of us had this moment in which the pandemic became very real, and the residual effects of it continue to this day and will continue for years to come. So our conversation today is really about the mega trends that we're seeing in our field of workplace well-being. A lot of these having been imposed by the pandemic, and certainly again by events like yesterday. And kind of ironically, the first big trend that I'm seeing is that mental health has taken center stage. We might call this the second act of the pandemic. So we know, for example, that rates of depression have tripled since the onset of the pandemic. And this idea that we kind of depended upon things being okay, as you characterized it, and then whether it's the pandemic or these horrific shootings happening yet again, kind of shattering that sensibility that things are okay. I would say also certainly the war in Ukraine has also been a reminder of that. So talk with us a little bit about your thoughts on this first big mega trend around mental health taking center stage.
Yeah. I'm gonna expand a little bit, or use a slightly different term, which is mental fitness. And I like mental fitness. It doesn't feel as heavy as mental health.
Mm.
and I'm probably overly sensitive because I know there's stigma around mental health. So I'm always trying to find ways to lighten that stigma. So whether it's mental health or mental fitness, I'll tell you something, to just expand on what you talked about, not only the challenges that have gone on, but I honestly think one of the blessings, and I don't know if that's the right word, one of the blessings that happened with the pandemic is the fact that many of us got forced to
Mhm.
pause and say, am I happy in my marriage? Am I happy in my career? Is this the job for me? Because what we were forced to do, a lot of us were forced to do, was to go home and to sit and to not be as distracted and not be in such a routine. And so something that I think was very powerful was this idea of us having an awakening to, ooh, I'm not happy. Ooh, I am more lonely than what I want to admit. Or the reverse. Ooh, I used to not like my coworkers, but damn, I kind of miss them now that I have been sitting at the house, and having to sit at my kitchen table as my new desk, or whatever. So much awakening has started to happen. And yes, I think, whether it was because of the pandemic, I think we've seen a lot of stars. I mean, Simone Biles and a lot of people that are public figures who are coming out and saying, I struggle. I have struggled, and I'm so grateful for that, because I think if we can all kind of admire, and Laura, I saw you kind of nodding your head like, yeah, that's right, those stars are coming out. I love that. I think now it's on us as leaders, whatever your role is, and I don't care what your title is, you are a leader. If you're listening to this call, you are a leader in some fashion, and I think we have got to start finding the courage and the vulnerability to also say, I struggle too. And I know that that's a contradiction. I know that as a leader, we feel like we've got to have it together. I know as a parent, you feel like you've got to say, I got you, kid. Don't worry. I'm okay. Even though maybe you're struggling and thinking about a divorce or whatever it is that's going on in your world. I think we've got to find ways to start being more vulnerable and saying, I'm hurting too, because the first phase of this is normalizing it, as opposed to thinking I'm the only freak. And because I'm seeing on Facebook, I'm seeing on social media, everyone else is so happy and still doing TikTok dances. Why am I the only one who's still upset about X, Y, and Z? So that's my initial kind of knee-jerk reaction to your comment, or your this mega trend around mental health or mental fitness is, how do we all start saying, yes, me too. I'm there. And here's not only the challenges that I've been dealing with, but here's also the path that I've been taking to be better.
Yeah, one of the things to recognize with this wave of mental fitness issues that have arisen, and that they're normal, to be experiencing these. I mean, this is part of the human experience. It's normal that after all that we've gone through, kind of this collective trauma. Obviously, the pandemic has impacted some more than others. In an incident like yesterday, obviously, those families who are directly impacted are feeling this more than others. And yet, this is something we all collectively experience. Or, of course, what happened in Buffalo, New York, processing that. But one of the things I think that we often is hearing those stories of others who are struggling, who share their vulnerability, can be very powerful. So, hearing the stories of Simone Biles, for example. But I love this idea of you're talking about kind of a forced pause being a silver lining, if you will, that has come from this. And it's been this moment of awakening. And I think one of the things that you do so well, Mitch, is that you create opportunities for people to experience awakenings. And that is, you create experiences. So you all may notice that I am wearing a t-shirt given to me by Mitch. So this is, and then I also got this Wellna Ninja certificate from you. So tell us a little bit about that, Mitch, and in that, talk a little bit about how your belief is that, in order to help people on their path to better well-being, is you create experiences. People make change through experiences.
You're spot on. You said it better than I could, which is we tend to take action when we have emotional experiences. Logic does not always drive us. Simple example. If you know a smoker, do you find it helpful when you tell them the statistics about how they're going to die and how it causes cancer? So logic and knowledge isn't enough. And I learned that going to school. It's like, because it was such awakening for me when I went to school, and then all of a sudden I started doing internships, and I'm like, wait a minute, people aren't behaving like textbooks, and oh my gosh, and it forced me to participate, forced me to jump into life and say, okay, let's just go and have some experiences, because actually that's going to motivate me and encourage me and actually build life. And what do I mean by build life? Meaning, I will tell you, I tended to be someone who sat on the sidelines a lot, the sidelines of life. I watched everyone else. I watched everyone else go, at a party and just immediately go and run and jump into the swimming pool. And I was like, but my mother told me that I'm supposed to wait 30 minutes after eating before I get in the pool, and I'm going to start in the shallow end, but secretly I admired those people who jumped into the deep end of the pool. It was like, woohoo, and they still had their clothes on. Or those people who, as soon as they finished school, they, whether it was grad school or college, they had some leftover money with their with their not tuition, but with their loans. And guess what? They went and said, I'm going to go to Europe. I was like, oh, what? You have to go, you have to start school right away. You have to go and get a job, and you have to start paying back those loans. But guess what? Even though I was judgmental and I was trying to use my logic and black and white lists of, do this versus that, the pros and the cons, it was about participating. I've learned now that it's about participating in life and having experiences. And so because of that biased kind of view I have, I'm always saying, how can I create experiences for other people? So to kind of really highlight real quick, Laura, I wanted to send you that Wellness Ninja shirt, because it's something that we've instituted here at this organization. And it's not your typical wellness champions. It is individuals that you just think are rock stars. Those people who are bringing wellness, whether it's bringing wellness to themselves. And we have a few health coaches here at this organization who are maybe sometimes awarding individuals who just, wow, they just rocked it from 0 to 100, and it's amazing. Where I tend to reward some people is my colleagues, who I lean on sometimes for a little, what I'll call, and I think you use this word as well, a little stealth wellness. It's like, okay, maybe I can't always get full buy-in, and it's going to take way too long to go through all the red tape. So let me just go over here. I'm going to talk to this one person and see if we can just wedge a little wellness over here or whatever. The common word I often use is fabric. Are we, as wellness professionals, are we weaving wellness into the fabric of our culture? Or are we just saying, we have a wellness program and we do a steps program and we have yoga at 2:00, whatever it is? I'm always finding ways, and I could give you a giant list of different things that I've tried to incorporate into our organization, into our culture, that helps people see, oh, wellness is so broad and so big, and of course, ultimately, and for self-preservation, I want people and leadership to say, wow, wellness is so important. We could never get rid of that, because if we got rid of that, look at all the fabric that would fall apart if all these threads were taken away. So
yeah, it's really that transition from wellness as a standalone program to really, as you describe it, weaving it into the fabric of business as usual in any organization. And so great to hear how you're using pieces like sharing these Wellness Ninja t-shirts as a way to kind of go stealth and really get people engaged on an emotional level through these experiences, so that it starts to become a way of life.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of these other trends they're moving. And I just want to share some of these other trends and then get your thoughts on these. So the next one being that we've moved from wellness to well-being. So well-being, looking at multiple dimensions of well-being beyond just physical, emotional, social, financial, community, career, even spiritual, environmental, to now human being.
Mm.
People really want to feel appreciated for who they are as human beings. People are leaving because they feel like they can't be their full authentic selves. For example, when they are at work, and they don't feel like that they are genuinely cared by the organization that they work for. So speak to that a little bit about how that we're really seeing that. And oh, and by the way, Lisa Cummings is asking, how do I get a Wellness Ninja t-shirt? And I also want to, Louise said, wedge a little wellness. Love it. Great way to reframe that, Mitch.
Oh,
So
thank
talk a
you.
little bit about this quest for being a human being.
Yeah, yeah. I thank you for asking that question, because where my mind immediately went was, well, wellness, which is a program, well-being. Oh, now there's multiple components of our program, to human being, which makes me think individual. We're now realizing we need to go to the individual. Just because Laura and I both want to lose weight, that doesn't mean that it has the same meaning to each one of us. And so, or we want to improve our finances. Well, let's individualize. How do we start creating individual experiences? How do we start talking to individuals? Because I will just summarize it like this, Laura, and keep it very simple. There are two basic things that everyone wants. They want to be seen, and they want to be valued. Laura, I see you. Great. It's so great to see you in the meeting. And I value what you bring to this organization. That is that what we are doing in our companies? Because that is why, and don't get me wrong, there's lots of statistics like people leave because of their manager, or people leave because of the culture of the organization, or whatever it is. The basic concept that we all, as human beings, not as employees, as human beings, we want to be seen and we want to be valued. Think about your friends, think about your family. Isn't that what you want most of all? And when we're not getting that, that's when we start to get a little wonky and a little less than ideal of ourselves, when we're not feeling like I'm being seen and I'm being valued. I think in a weird way, social media has probably bastardized that a little bit by with the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and as a weird way to try to be seen and to be valued. So I don't know that I would necessarily use social media as our model, but they're playing in that area. So has that answered your question? I don't know if I
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I encourage our listeners here to post any other questions as we go through here. So just want to share the other four trends and then get your thoughts. So the next one being, we've kind of goodbye life, a work-life balance. Hello, work-life integration / life work integration. And next being, we're asking the question, do you have wellness privilege? So really start to look at, is wellness a privilege? And which brings us to the battle lines are being drawn between individualism versus collectivism. Is this really about, quote, just taking personal responsibility, or do we need to work in cooperation to ensure that well-being is accessible for all and not just some? And then finally, well-being is here to stay. So those are the top trends that I'm seeing. Give us your thoughts, Mitch, on any of those. And MJ is saying here, love that. And Anne here, yes, organizations need to provide human being leaders, not human resources professionals.
Ooh, I love that. I
Love
love that.
that.
Well done.
Okay,
Yes.
Mitch. So you're on thoughts on any of these trends that I just highlighted here, and or any that you see.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you've unpacked or shared a lot, and my mind went every time you said something. It's like, oh, my mind went that way and this way. Here's what I would like to offer or suggest, which is anyone who saw Laura and I kind of chatting back and forth on LinkedIn, promoting this. One of the comments I made is, I hope that we can all admit or recognize that there was this great resignation. You want to put a positives, because that can feel kind of negative, at least from a company's point of view. Like, no, that then to move from this great awakening, kind of what I talked about, this idea of like, wow, this was an opportunity to pause and to say, is this what I want in my life? But I think all of us that are on this call, and I'm grateful for everyone who has tuned in, I think we can move into and take some responsibility for something called what I call the Great Anneal. And by the way, I didn't come up with that term. I learned it from a colleague at Pepperdine, where I graduated from. But the Great Anneal. So anneal is actually a term. Anneal is this idea of taking metal and heating it up so much that it becomes malleable, that we can work with it. Guess what? The pandemic did that, forced that with companies who were very rigid. It's not possible to let people work from home. Oh my God, we couldn't trust them, and whatever it might be. But guess what? There is an opportunity happened because things got so heated, metaphorically, that the companies had to become malleable. Now, I think it is our responsibility to say, wow, companies currently are a little more flexible than they ever have been before. So how can we take advantage of this? And also, as individual employees, how can we start to insert more of our ideas of how we can make this a cohabitable union where we are both happy, where we are both feeling energized about the company that we are working for, and that we want to be here, whether it's a hybrid model, whether I'm fully working from home, or I am still in my case, I'm still at the hospital every day. I think there's an incredible opportunity. And so all of those things that you just listed, Laura, are great trends that we can start to move in, or areas. Someone said they like the wellness wedge. All those things that you talked about, that's where we can start to wedge some of our wellness into our community. But we've got to step forward. We've got to start taking some risks. And I can't think of a better time than right now because of that. If there's one trend that I would love to see more of, and it has to do with this idea of many people now working from home, or this hybrid model, is I think we as wellness professionals need to start working more on social well-being. How can we, when I love to talk to people, I love to say, tell me about your programming. And you're starting to hear much more than physical nowadays. They don't just have a STEPS program. They've got financial well-being. They've got EAP and some great resources for emotional well-being. But it's rare that I hear someone talk about their aggressive, conscientious, strategic plans around social well-being.
Yeah, social well-being is a big one, and we know particularly that's been a fallout from the pandemic, is a rise in rates of loneliness. So, Mitch, we've got a question that just came in, and if you can answer it in 1 minute or less, what is the number one way we can interweave well-being into the fabric of our workplace? So, 1 minute or less.
All right, and here it is. Here's what I'm going to recommend. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by your entire company and trying to do something that will get buy-in from everyone, learn. Now I'm going to praise social media. Try to learn from what goes viral. And I don't mean go on to social media and try to mimic. What I'm saying is learn that there's a model, which is do something and see if it goes viral, and then it will happen on its own. So you don't necessarily always have to say, I'm going to try to do this thing for the entire organization. This one department wants me to do something over there, or I have an idea. Let me see if I can try it over here. And if it goes well, it starts to go viral on its own, and you don't have to do a lot of the work and a lot of the red tape. So that's my recommendation, hopefully in 1 minute or less.
And that's an excellent response. And that's actually one of the reasons why there's so much power in engaging managers, is that can create that kind of viral movement team by team that kind of moves across the organization, as opposed to just thinking about this top down or bottom up. MJ is sharing connections is the number one requested topic in Sparking Business right now. In my speaking business right now. Okay, great. Yeah. So that's a big topic. So Mitch, in 30 seconds or less, what are your top 3 takeaways for our listeners around these? How do we respond in our field to these mega trends in workplace well-being? Top 3 takeaways.
Top 3 takeaways. Number 1, recognize and own and have the courage to realize you have more power than what you realize. That's number 1. Again, be rather than being a social influencer, be a wellness influencer. Number 2, I'm gonna just really reinforce again what MJ and others are probably commenting on, which is the power of social well-being. I think we're at a crux right now, and companies and human beings, the employees, need to figure out how are we going to socially connect. I can't stress that enough, because if I'm not socially connected to my company, which is a lot harder if I'm working remote or working hybrid, I'm just going to jump to the next company that's offering me $1 more.
That's right.
So we've got to work on that. And God, there's so many. Number 3, what would it be? I so go back again. I'll say it again. Try to figure out how you can see and value the people in front of you, and whether that's your colleagues or whether that's your friends and your family. Gosh, especially in what's just happened in our country, it's a nice maybe opportunity for us to call someone and say, I just want you to know, I see you and I love you, and this is why I love you.
I often share that if we really want to do something about our mental fitness crisis that we're facing, is that this is going to take not just expertise, but effort. So I love your top 3 takeaways. Recognize the power that you hold. Each of us can be wellness influencers. Really drill down into the importance of social well-being, and do your part to help every single person around you in your network to feel seen and to feel valued. So Mitch, how can people stay in touch with you?
Oh gosh, I'm a shaker and a mover. It's hard to track me down, but LinkedIn. I mean, honestly, LinkedIn. My name is on the screen, Mitch Martens. That's how you can find me on LinkedIn, and that's probably the best way to if you want to ask any follow-up questions or whatever. Or, Laura knows how to find me, and Laura's connected with everyone. So and if not, as much as possible, I try to put my phone number on bathroom walls, for a good time. So go to a bathroom wall, you'll probably find my number there.
Awesome. And so next month on June 22nd, our guest will be Jen Benz. Very excited about having her. So please join us for that. A reminder that our conversation today and all of these LinkedIn Lives are always recorded. They are on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you to subscribe. Alana has put that in the chat. I want to say a special thank you to you, Mitch, for being my fabulous guest today. I think particularly in light of where we are as a nation, I can't think of a better guest to have had. Thank you so much to all of the people who joined our conversation and who join every month's conversation. And I will look forward to seeing all of you next month. And again, Mitch, thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.